on the edge. You're like
Yep.
almost there, and it's like, okay, now you got Congress on board, and is it just a matter of getting it in front of Joe Biden and getting him to sign off and say yes, it's a go? What's
So
the holdup?
this year's process, because every 2 years you got to start over. So, but we're not really starting over.
Okay.
Okay, when I went there 5 years ago, the meetings kind of went like, who are you? And then by a year later, they went, oh, you're that Dream Exchange guy.
Right.
And now it's, oh, there's Joe and his
Yeah.
team. We voted for that already.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a reception we have that will give it a momentum and speed to the legislation to open the venture exchanges. I think we have very, very good prospects this coming year for the Main Street Growth Act becoming a law. And yes, it's got to pass both houses of Congress,
Mm-hmm.
and that ink on the page. And here's actually the tricky part. This is a very small, it's only 11 pages, but it's
Okay.
an important tweak. Okay, it changes things perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they don't independently pass 11-page laws in the Congress. It'll get attached to something
Something
else.
else. Right.
Right.
Now
So that's some of the delay.
I'm a little bit familiar with the process only because in my former life I worked at a
Yeah.
lobbying firm, so I got
Oh, okay.
I got a very good idea. I mean, better than anything I learned in high school or even college. I got a really good idea of what goes on. I'm in Capitol Hill, and I'm in the state of Pennsylvania, and I happen to live in the capital of Pennsylvania, which is Harrisburg. So
Right.
I mean, the Capitol was literally like a block away, and the lobbyists for the firm that I were at, they were there all the time. So I have an understanding of um what the process is like to
As
get
one
this
of as one of my
legislation
lobbyists
passed.
as one of my lobbyists says, you saw how the sausage is made.
Exactly. Thank you. That is a perfect analogy, because I went through years, high school, college, and I'm thinking, look, these legislators, they know what they're doing. These are smart people. Mm-mm. It's
No, they're
somebody
counting
at the
on people like us.
I was going to say it's somebody who's physically at the Dream Exchange who was writing this legislation and giving it to them. Like it really is just a matter of them looking at it, saying, you know what, this makes perfect sense. Why weren't we
Well,
doing this like all along?
all along, yeah. And what our challenge with something so brand new
Mm-hmm.
was not just that went in and declared ourselves the experts. Um, One of the things I had to do, and this is where I say research, we actually had to hand gather over 1,600 companies and gather every piece of financial data about how they went to the public market and what the characteristics of those companies were to assure that we would be successful. And we
Mm-hmm.
published the research. We actually sent it to Oxford University, and
Okay.
good thing. I mean, Oxford accepted the research paper and published it in a handbook on initial public offering. So in chapter 9, you can find our research,
Okay.
which clearly is now becoming a global phenomenon. Like we have people in the Ukraine and in Switzerland and
Mm-hmm.
in the Netherlands who are all going, wow, this is very interesting research. I wonder how we can use it too. Well, because we have this kind of international scholarly acceptance of the idea and its workability, when we were talking to Congress, it was sort of an easier conversation
Easier to
because,
have, right? Because
yeah,
now they know, like, listen, we've already presented this in other countries, and they're fully on board with this. Why are we not pushing
it
this forward?
works, correct. And here's the really interesting part about this law, because I did get a question. I had a question one time from a congressman who said, um, I could see, he was actually quite bright. He was a financial services guy, and he
Mm-hmm.
said, I could see how some changes to this could probably benefit your brand and the way you're going about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, there's only one problem with that. It's not my law, it's America's law.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to do is create an environment for the country so that the country will actually live up to what the experiment in freedom has been for 230 years. We want to live up to that. So the way the bill has been written by,
Mhm.
and a lot, this is not my law. I mean, the NASDAQ weighed in. There's all the other stock exchanges. There are many other scholars who have weighed in on how to go about this. So this is a kind of a think tank of very, very smart people
Mhm.
who've designed what I consider to be a very significant change to the securities laws. And those laws were passed 87 years ago.
Mhm.
So, blow
And
the
much
dust
has
off
not changed. Exactly.
and
Much has
exactly,
not
let's make a
changed.
change. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
well now, okay, I want to shift a little bit.
Mhm,
Focusing on, black owned businesses. And we're having more I want to say repetitive conversations
mhm.
about inclusion and diversity. So with the Dream Exchange, is it going to be only available to black owned businesses, or is it going to be open to everybody? Because it's not that I fear, but I do question um how much emphasis or how much investment or how much attention is going to be given to the small businesses that this was designed for, the small black owned businesses that this was designed for, if you include, say, Amazon or Tesla or Toyota or Allstate, or so how are you going to go about navigating that?
Right. So there's a ceiling. It is open to all businesses, but there, when we talk about the venture exchange portion of things, this new way of doing things, there's a ceiling. So no, Amazon will not be allowed to be on a venture exchange. In fact, as a company grows, we actually gave it a very high ceiling, in my opinion. The ceiling in the law is once a company reaches a value of $2 billion, then it has to graduate to the bigger stock exchanges. So there's a lot of room. And the fact is that we are looking at every entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the main difference. The main difference is it has a lot to do with our brand, what we're actually trying to accomplish. Um, we know that the expression everyone uses now is environmental, sustainable, and green, ESG,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there's even now reporting by companies as to how they're doing. Are they environmentally friendly? Are they sustainable? Well, we're adding D. We're adding diverse because the importance of diversity to the conversation
Mm-hmm.
it can't be left behind. And
No, it can't.
yes,
Absolutely. Especially when we look at just looking at the Small Business Administration period. Let's just look at that organization that was developed by the government to assist small businesses. But if we look at the statistics, the Small Business Administration has not given any type of funding, whether it's loans, whether it's grants, to black owned businesses. I want to say in the last, what, 12, 13, maybe even 15 years, there has not been more than 2% of the funding going to black owned businesses. So it's, I mean, with, I think, like 98% of funding from the SBA going to white businesses. And then if we look at the minority portion of it, we've learned that white women have always gone after the funding that's available to minorities. So again, like I can't really stress this enough, and I don't want to feel like I'm putting you on a spot, but hey, this is what
put
my
me on the spot.
this is what this platform is about,
Let
is to get
uh,
answers to these tough questions, because if we don't address these issues, nothing is ever going to change. So it's like,
yes.
my question to you is, how are you going to with the venture part of it, if there are, I'll scale the question down a little bit. If there are 5 points that a small business has to have in order to be attractive to, you said you have a pool of what, 400 ready investors, is
Right now, I think in DreamX Connect, I know there's at least 1,200 different identities in there. So yeah, there's that many investors as well as investment like
So these are not just
funds and pools,
these are not just like individual investors. These are like investment groups,
organizations, correct.
organizations that this is all they do is venture capital, right? So it's
Hmm.
like 1,200. That the pool went from one hand to two.
Right,
so we
right,
so we have this
right.
so we have this great big pool of investment that's available. If we had to narrow down for a small black owned business, if we had to say you have to be innovative, you have to be green, you have to be profitable, you have to have, if it's 5 things or if it's 10 things, tell me exactly what are those things for, because I want people to walk away and say, you know what, if he's telling me I need to have 10 things and I only got 4, let me go back to the drawing board and develop those other 6 things before I go and jump into this thing. Or I want you to tell me if maybe I have it wrong. Do they go ahead and register anyway? And then you have people who help them develop those 6 things that they're missing from the 4 that they and build up on the 4 that they already have. Break
That's
that down.
exactly it. You
Okay,
you 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 hit it. So
I
here's
hit
the
it. Bam.
right, because there isn't a black owned or a white owned or an any ethnic group owned company that's an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur company that approaches us and goes, oh, we have all 10 things. If I even had a list of 10 things, we have them all perfect.
Okay.
Okay, if they have those 10 things, usually they're in such good shape they don't even need us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the point is, and this is the entire point, the point is developing the public market that we know exists. And I'm going to go back to what you started discussing to begin with. Historically, there have been 2 main solutions when we have, oh my gosh, there just isn't enough investment in this underserved community. There's
Mm-hmm.
not enough
Mm-hmm.
investment. So how do we try to solve it? Well, the Small Business Administration guarantees a loan. They don't actually provide the loan. A lender provides the loan. They guarantee the loan.
Right.
So what then happens? Well, that small business is going through a loan application.
Mm-hmm.
Well, loans to an entrepreneur are very often the devil, because now where you needed time, where you needed the space to further develop your company,
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
where you might be profitable in 3 quarters or 5 quarters,
Mm-hmm.
but if you miss it and your loan is due
Do.
and
Mm-hmm.
you're in trouble now.
Or credit cards.
Credit cards. Listen, I often say if you haven't put your payroll on your credit cards at least one time, you're not a real entrepreneur. And I've
Mm-hmm.
actually done that.
Mm-hmm.
So the truth of the matter is that what an entrepreneur really needs, and I'm gonna shout this word out there, what they need is help, real,
Real
genuine
help.
help. And the help that we're providing is twofold in terms of this discussion, like SBA. It's the first thing is information. Who can I go to? So we're networking the help. So if someone needs a specialist, a consultant, an accountant, a lawyer, someone who can actually pay a careful attention to that small business, that's the first thing. So they can grow and become more compliant if they're just
Mm-hmm.
so far out of it that they need that help. That's first. That's the first help. The second help is the real help. They don't need another loan program.
Right.
They need an investor. They need
Mm-hmm.
someone who's willing to I guess do what I've done is I'm partners. I'm my 60% of the Dream Exchange is owned by the black community, by black people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because this is the growth and the direction, and our board of directors, and we've got some announcements coming in the not too distant future that are going to rock this world. The people who want us to succeed, that are actually paying attention to something that will sustain things for a long time, because an investment does that.
Mm-hmm.
Investment dollars that the investor is now, he's taken as much risk in the company as the entrepreneur. He's with you, he's a partner. And
Mm-hmm.
when we get the American public doing that, those companies now, we all have a stake in one another in the public. That's the difference between a public and a private market.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the other really important factor. You touched on it, but I'm going to make it really important so everyone realizes
Come on,
this.
Joe.
Okay. So one of the other failed ways that looks like it's very helpful is by creating the set asides you're talking about. So we're some large company, not, I don't want to pick on anyone, but Microsoft
Mm.
or you know
We
some
understand.
some big company,
Something we're familiar with that you know is
Shell
a
Oil,
big company, and
doesn't
yeah.
matter, a big company, and they look at their company and they say, how much money do we spend when we buy things by buying them from a minority business?
Mm.
And they go, boy, you know what? We buy $25 million a year worth of paper towels. Well, there's a black paper towel company right over here, and we can award the contract for buying paper towels to that black company.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good thing. I'm not against that. But what we've done is we've helped one company get one
Contract,
contract.
right.
And now we are not sure that 2 or 3 or 5 years from now, when the managers at Shell Oil who wanted to do this with their best of intentions, when it comes up for renewal, that company may not be sustained in that for long term.
Mm-hmm.
But if we have a stock exchange marketplace and we have an investor who decides, wow, this is a brilliant entrepreneur, and he makes paper goods,
Mm-hmm.
and we invest in that company, well, those paper goods are going to be sold everywhere. I have lists of companies right now that I've worked with in the black community that would knock you over.
Mm-hmm.
One of them has been around for 90 years. They sell, I can't disclose everything about them, but I'm
No,
going to
no,
give it.
no. I mean,
They
I
just,
love the fact that you're giving me examples, but no, I
yeah.
understand you don't got to give trade secrets
Yeah, I
and
won't give you
names.
names,
That's all
but
right.
they make breakfast food. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, and you may have even eaten some of their breakfast food.
Okay.
They sell it to grocery stores and they sell it to restaurants. Okay.
All
They've been
right.
around for 90 years. They should be 10 times the size that they are. Now, the third generation of ownership, okay,
Mm-hmm.
they know what they're making. They know
Mm-hmm.
how to make it. They're doing well.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, no one's going to, they're not going to go bankrupt.
Okay.
They're going to keep selling their product.
Mm-hmm.
But are they as big as Swift Eckridge was, or as big as Procter and Gamble, or as one of
Right.
these? No, no one's ever gone and invested the
Into
money in
them.
that company. And, they're actually located on the south side of Chicago. Okay. So what we're doing is and I would say that they're at the higher end of the spectrum of the companies that we would be helping.
Mm-hmm.
There are other companies that are newer, that are smaller, that
Mm-hmm.
may not even be profitable yet, but we know the sequence of events and the help needed to get those entrepreneurs interested in actually looking for a genuine solution.
Mm-hmm.
When we created our brand, the Dream Exchange brand, I hired the former chief creative officer of Leo Burnett, wonderful woman, and she did all these surveys. She
Mm-hmm.
kept asking people, what is this about to you? What is the word that comes to mind? What's the
Mm-hmm.
word? And the number one word that came up for every single person was the word access.
Mm-hmm.
And that is it's the key in the lock.
Right.
Because it isn't that there's some bad product. It
Mm-hmm.
isn't that there's not. I'm
Right.
dealing with at the Urban League. We're dealing with Ivy League pedigreed business people. There's
Mm-hmm.
some amazing people, and being able to have those people get
Yes.
the access to a
Mm-hmm.
marketplace that obviously does not serve that sector of our
Mm-hmm.
community, to get access in there is really the new novelty. We're saying it.
Mm-hmm.
It's obvious to everyone. I mean, you don't have to look through 230 years of listing records at the New York Stock Exchange. It's
Mm-hmm.
easy. You can Google it.
Google it.
How
Yeah.
many black-owned companies have been on the New
On
York
the,
Stock Exchange? And boom, BET comes up, and
and
that's it.
that's about it. Yeah.
You don't have to sort through. Oh, well, there's been, arguably there's that one. No. And I want you to think about this for a
Mm-hmm.
second. There are currently 3,500 companies traded on stock exchanges in the United States. There's only
Mm-hmm.
3,500. So that's today. How many thousands of companies over a couple hundred years
Mm-hmm.
have used the American capital markets to expand and prosper. And who knows, maybe they sold their whole company to some bigger company.
Right.
But that wealth creation has by and large excluded major portions of
It's
our
going right
population.
over us. I mean,
Yep.
it's going right over our community. I mean, I
So
know
there's kind of a seat at the table. That's the goal is
there
to
is. It is
to
a
get it
seat at the
started.
table. The table's laid out. There's
Yeah.
seats at the table. However, we're not getting invitations to the restaurant where the table's at.
Right.
That in and of itself is problematic. Now, Joe, what I do, well, first of all, I want to give a huge apology to you, to everybody who's watching, because I had it streaming and then it kind of like cut out, and now we're up and we're streaming again
Okay,
on
good.
Facebook and YouTube. But don't worry, I have it all recorded. You'll be able to catch it on the
Okay,
replay.
great.
You don't have to worry. I have it recorded. You can catch it on the replay. So I did want to go ahead and apologize. But to keep moving forward, the one thing that I keep hearing you saying we. I want you to tell me exactly who is we, because at the Dream Exchange, is it 100% black owned? Is it 60% black owned?
60%.
60% black owned.
So
And then go
right.
ahead.
So there's a capital group that is it's actually called Dream Exchange Capital Group. We're going to be announcing some of the investors in the Dream Exchange Capital Group very soon.
Okay.
I think the community will be pleased with the people who are partnering with us, but until
I'm
all
excited.
of that,
I can't wait to see them.
yeah, it's going to be it's a victory for me personally, because the fact is that we have what I would consider to be a broad public acceptance of our ideas, and I'm a mechanics guy. I know how to do what I'm doing, but I didn't do it just to form a stock exchange. I did it because, I have 6 children. I want generations to come to live in a harmonious, beautiful country where everyone is allowed to participate.
And
And I don't,
everyone is getting their slice of the American pie. This existential piece of pie that they've been shoving down our throats for years and years and years, and getting access to the pie, and it just seems like it's getting further and further out of reach for everyone, not just the black community, but it's hurting us, it seems like, the most.
yeah, I would venture to say, and there are times that I say these things, and I've been complimented for saying it, but it's true. I'm not trying to sound profound. It's just true. And I believe that we will only be truly free in America where freedom and opportunity are represented to each of us in a way that allows prosperity to come along with it. So freedom, opportunity, prosperity. Because when you have people who are prosperous, they tend to feel more of a stake in what they're creating. And if you take away prosperity, and especially if you take away prosperity and the hope of prosperity, freedom doesn't sound quite as good.
Right.
It represents something different to different people, because that isn't what America is to a lot of people.
You spend the majority of your freedom struggling to get by. That doesn't
surviving.
it doesn't seem like you're free at all. You're bound by poverty.
Right. And the goal is to, there's a lot of ideas about how to kind of, that people even say reverse some type of thing. And reverse is going backwards. I think we need to go forward.
Absolutely.
I think we need to declare a new day. One of my favorite people, I actually have a picture. There's a brass artist's rendition. It's a sculpture of Rosa Parks sitting on a bus chair. It's in the Smithsonian.
Okay.
But members of Congress are allowed to ask the Smithsonian to put on display in their offices certain works of art. And
okay.
I happened to be in a particular congressman's office, and he had this bronze statue on display. And I was in tears thinking, okay, this is the time that the economic community is refusing to give up its seat on the bus. That's what this represents to me. I was literally in tears. I thought, this is what we're doing as a group. And there are other partners. The current working team because we are, in addition to being dedicated to this, we're diverse. Okay, we are. I actually asked one of my partners the other day. I said, "Don't we need to get a diversity officer in Dream Exchange?" He goes, "Joe, we are the America's diversity officer.
Right.
You already have hired all these people."
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, okay, well, I don't want to be critical of someone else, but we have our boxes checked, and the
Yeah,
truth
you're
is that
already doing the diversity
we're
work.
doing it. Yeah, we're doing it.
You're already doing the
Yeah.
diversity work. You're already doing the inclusion and inclusion work. And I mean,
Yes.
I love the picture that you painted of Rosa Parks and not, and people not giving up their seats and making room for everyone, to have access. But I want to keep moving forward in the interview. What I really
Mhm.
want to know, let's talk about cost for an entrepreneur who wants to register and create a profile
Mhm.
with the Dream Connect.
Mhm.
How much of an investment is that? Is it? Well, I'll let you to explain.
It's free.
Can't be free. You can't
So
be free. Okay, say it again for
that's
the
the
people.
truth.
Joe, say it
That's the
again.
truth.
Say it again for the people in the
DreamX
back.
Connect is free. It's absolutely free. Is like signing up for Facebook for entrepreneurs. You come in. There's a menu. There's a series of menus. If you can't figure out how to fill out the menus, you
Mm-hmm.
talk to one of our seniors team. Actually, the person you talk to is Gus Tucker. He was formerly the head of the entrepreneurship program at the Chicago Urban League. He's a wonderful man,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll help you. Our team will help you. We will inform you. There will be things, your 10 things. There'll be things that, oh, I don't know how to check that box. I don't know what menu to use.
Okay.
I don't even have this part of the menu done. Fine. Let's help you get all that uploaded. And there's no charge to it at all.
And
And there's no
then
charge for an investor.
so you have investor like experts who look at these profiles, right? And
Yes.
then what happens after they give you feedback or they
They
say,
have
listen,
a
we'll help you build up the things that you're missing, but you're ready to go. You check all the boxes and we'll send you off into the pool of investors. Is there a cost to get into the pool?
No. So here, good. So there's a sequence. So what we're doing with DreamX Connect is the investor and the company, no cost. It's like social media. You can actually privately message each other just like you would on Facebook Messenger and begin a dialogue with people you're interested in. You can search for the type of investors profile you're looking for. The investors can search for the type of company they're looking for. And we've actually had a couple success stories where people have met in that kind of social media environment,
Mm-hmm.
and they got their strategic investor, and we didn't charge anything for that. We don't intend to charge anything for that, so your entrepreneurs can get immediate help today. What we're doing as
So you can find as a business owner, you can find investors and you can be found by investors
correct,
through DreamX Connect.
correct.
Okay, is there a website for that? I want to be able to pump that and push that as much as possible.
So if you go to DreamX there'll be a link to DreamX Connect, and you just go zoom right into DreamX Connect. You can probably even just Google DreamX Connect. It'll come up and you click and it'll take you right to the link. And there's a whole bunch of information on how to get started. And it's all free. There's no charge. In fact, you get a login and password for your profile so no one else can change it. But what we're doing is everyone who comes now, we're gathering the identities of those people so that we can communicate with them and say, okay, very interesting company and idea. We believe that if you go here and get this help and these consultants, when we launch, you have the possibility to be what we call a listing track company. And so that we have a year to develop the DreamX Connect market. We haven't done a lot of promoting of it, in fact, and we're getting people coming in. We've done very little promoting of it, in fact. So it is a first step to getting into the educational process so that the entrepreneur can then know, oh, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with but a step. So we want to get them walking. We want to get them on that road towards that potential to become the next big thing.
So take me to the next step. So now I'm an entrepreneur. I've created my profile. Um, I hit, some of the key markers. I check some, some of the
Mhm.
boxes, or I check all the boxes, and now I'm ready, for the investment. We're waiting for the act, the Main Street Act to pass. We're
Mhm.
waiting for the actual launch when Dream Exchange launches officially. And now
So
I'm ready to release my IPO, right?
right.
How much is that?
Okay. So there's a few factors there. One is, how much work hasn't been done. So there's going to be some costs that go along with completing what they call registration statements and being able to prepare all of the legal documents that
Mm-hmm.
that are required. Um, and as well as the accounting information and the financial information and the information on the company.
Mm-hmm.
So once we're gathering through DreamX Connect, we're beginning to get a population of people so that by the time we open, we're not then asking people, hey, are you interested? We want to be ready
Mm-hmm.
with companies who've been preparing themselves over this coming
Right.
year so that we have qualified good companies that can actually make it into the first group that will get public market investing. The cost of that now, we've been doing a lot of study
Mm-hmm.
of how to reduce that cost.
Okay.
So in general, it could be upwards, depending on the circumstances, it could be as little as $30,000 or $40,000. It could be as much as 150 or $200,000.
Okay.
It just depends on the circumstances the company finds itself in.
Okay.
In addition, though, we have um, promoters, brokers, and people who are licensed that will help raise the money. They'll get commissions. They'll be able to earn a commission, and that's up to the company to decide who they hire and how much money that particular person will earn for helping raise the money. That's
Now,
how the public markets work.
that whole explanation really leads me to my next question. When you're talking about the brokers, do me now, I'm a business owner and I'm an investor. Am I going to
Mhm.
need to go through a brokerage? Like, I have a brokerage account. Do I need to go through a broker if I want to invest in any of the businesses that are available on the Dream Exchange? How does that work?
Yeah. So the likelihood is we're constructing the exchange now. When the venture exchange opens, there will be connectivity so that if you have an Ameritrade account or you
Mm-hmm.
have, there'll be an opportunity to access the Dream Exchange listings
Mm-hmm.
through those relationships.
Okay.
So, if you have an E-Trade account, there will be publicly available securities that through your account you should be able to purchase. You don't have to go
So
hire a separate broker.
I don't
You'll
have
go
to.
right through you'll be in the
I
you'll be
love
in
that.
the fabric of the system, right?
Yes, Lord. Okay, make it easy for me.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about.
yeah,
I got an
right.
E-Trade account, so when I'm ready to buy, I don't know,
ABC company that gets
ABC
listed.
ABC company selling breakfast foods out of Chicago. When I'm
Hmm.
ready, when I'm ready to invest, I can just go to um the brokerage firm I can use E-Trade or whatever brokerage firm I'm using, and I can say, okay, I want to not just trade on the Nasdaq, or I don't want to trade on the New York Stock Exchange. I want to trade specifically on the Dream Exchange. Correct?
That's correct. Correct.
That's what I'm talking about. All
Yeah,
right.
and the menu will be there. The nice thing, there's your access. The menu will be there. You'll be able to click on that company
Mm-hmm.
and it'll take you to their information. So you can actually have the transparent information and decide if you want to invest and say, oh, I've read all the information on this company.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't sound like it's all that good. I'm choosing this other
Choosing
company.
something
And
else.
and here's what's of vital importance to this conversation. And obviously the complexity of it is quite high. So I'm trying to make sure that I talk to the audience and simplify it.
I think you're
But
doing a good job of being
okay,
simple.
okay. So here's what's vitally important.
Mm-hmm.
These small companies today, because of the way the laws are structured, even if you got an investor, let's just say you were able to get someone to invest millions of dollars in your company.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The main problem is in the private market, they can't resell the investment. They have to go through another process to actually offer what they own to other people. In a stock exchange environment, if you went to your E-Trade account and you decided today I'm going to buy Apple computer, and tomorrow you went, geez, I think I want to sell that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to ask anybody. You log in, you buy, you sell. You choose in your own self-determined way
Mm-hmm.
how to manage your own investments.
Okay.
There's a lot of freedom in that. What's most important about that, however, is as companies are successful and you're the entrepreneur or you're Facebook employee number 7, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and you own shares, well, there's some rules that are applied, but you're then able to choose to sell your shares.
Mm-hmm.
It's what's called secondary liquidity. The first time is when the first investment is made.
Mm-hmm.
But in the current marketplace, there is no what they call secondary liquidity. If you can't sell it, well, now you own it, and you're going to wait until the
Company
CEO of
grows.
the company goes public, or
Right.
the CEO of the company decides to sell it to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
You're just in it until whenever. So that feature, what we're creating, when we call that secondary liquidity in the private markets, is being born in a brand new marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
That's what will stimulate the ability to become wealthy by choosing when you buy and when you sell and when you choose to hold,
Mm-hmm.
and how you manage your own financial affairs. So people who have 401k plans and individual retirement accounts, and
Mm-hmm.
they can choose for themselves what to do with their own money. And you can choose that in the major markets, but you really only
Right.
have a menu of 3,000 plus companies.
Mm-hmm.
What about all the thousands of other companies who are
Mm-hmm.
really viable and profitable and good companies and have ingenious ideas?
Right.
I mean, I can tell you, you asked about industries. We have agricultural companies. We have technology companies. We have manufacturing companies. We have biopharma companies.
People have already created profiles and they're waiting for the bell. When y'all they're waiting for the Dream
Waiting for the
Exchange
bell,
bell to
the
ring.
first bell, yes.
I'm
And some of
I
them are
can't
in
wait.
there.
Okay.
Some of them are in there, and they went, "Oh, yeah, DreamX Connect is for us." Some of them have just approached us and said, "You know what? We're doing okay. We're not going to go in DreamX Connect, but
Mm-hmm.
tell us how we prepare ourselves during this next year to become one of your listings."
Perfect.
Um, and there are thousands of companies. My biggest challenge, I think, what keeps me at night, is how do I help is all the people that actually want this help.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Mm-hmm.
biggest challenge, is putting together a large organization to serve the needs of the community, so that the fabric of what we're creating right now really reaches everybody who's interested and everybody who's qualified. That's the biggest challenge we face.
Well, I want to double back to what you were saying earlier about the financial literacy component, because for a while now we've been talking about the businesses and how they can become involved. We've been talking about the investors and how they can become involved. But the investors from the Black community who don't necessarily have the knowledge, have the skill set, to trade, to
Mhm.
buy stock, don't know how to buy stock, don't have an E-Trade account, don't have a stockpile, don't have Robinhood. They hear
Mhm.
these things, but they're not engaged. You were talking about partnering with the Urban League. Are you partnering with any other agencies, NAACP, or I'm throwing names out there. I'm not
Mhm.
suggesting anything.
Yeah.
But who else are you partnering with, or are you looking for partners to be brick and mortar locations, flagship locations, Dream Exchange and ambassadors that will be open to the community, especially youth? I mean, I don't want to leave young people out of this at all, because I know growing up, elementary school, middle school, high school, the stock market was not talked about.
Mhm.
REITs weren't
Right.
talked about. These things weren't talked about. So I want to talk about financial literacy at an early age. Are there agencies that you're part, boys and girls clubs? Are there agencies, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts? Are there agencies that you're partnering with where you're trying to really, push that financial literacy part?
So the answer is yes. We're looking for more partnerships. We're currently kind of working out as a pilot what we're doing with the Urban League,
Okay.
because we will be reaching out to more programs. And it's ironic that you use this word, because this is inside the Dream Exchange on our planning board. We are developing something called the Dream Exchange Ambassador Program.
See, because I be knowing, Joe.
Brilliant. Yes. Very well done. And in that program,
I be knowing, Joe. I be knowing.
that's exactly right. Because and what I'm finding is the response is overwhelmingly, and I mean literally thousands of people, young Black professionals,
Mm-hmm.
who have, there's almost a misinformation out there, like, oh, there's not as much pre-existing information.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people who know a lot about this, and what they don't have is someone like the Dream Exchange paying attention to them.
Mm-hmm.
So the exciting news is there's an entire generation of young people that don't just think it's cool. They don't just think that it's a novelty. They actually identify with our main purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And the main purpose we have, we really want to direct the flow of investment dollars into products and services that help us all survive better and thrive better, and simultaneously pay careful attention
Mm-hmm.
to the communities that have those companies and services that need those investment dollars desperately, and get them in there and get them in there fast and in large enough amounts of money so that we can really expand prosperity in the community. So there's a huge population of young people who are just so aligned. And, I've been around. I'm not, I wish I were younger, because I love what I do. And I wish I had another 55 years of blink of I'm 55 years old. But it's interesting because the people I'm working with in the Black community are seasoned. These are a bit of the generation that preceded me, and the excitement amongst the people I'm working with is very high, because they're invigorated by the youth of the people coming to this. And the conversation has changed. I'll actually quote somebody who shall remain nameless, but he's one of the key advisors in our group. He's been a civil rights leader. He's in fact, his father was probably one of Martin Luther King's best friends, and he's a wonderful man. And what he said to me, he said, you're really changing the conversation. He said, when I was a boy and I went to church, some of the congregation would look at somebody and say, I wonder how he got all that money. And they looked a little askance at people who had money, because maybe they were, not necessarily the person in the community that was, the one that they wanted their kids to aspire to be. And today, I haven't experienced that not one time. So the conversation has changed. Prosperity, I use the word prosperity, it's a deliberate word. I want people to build wealth, but more importantly, the opportunity to thrive, to actually have a really good life. That's what we're going for.
But without questioning or putting your integrity in jeopardy. This is a legal means to grow wealth and create generational wealth and leave a legacy. And I fully understand the picture that you're painting and the example that you're giving about the how we look at people who have wealth. Is it possible to have gotten that wealth without any harm
legally?
It's pretty nice.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I've practiced law for 16 years, so
right,
that is legally, a fundamental question.
Having gotten the money legally. And one of the other things that I really found attractive about the Dream Exchange is that so far, I'm not going to say not at all, but so far, from what I've heard from the webinars that I have listened to, from the news articles that I have read in the press that you've gotten, I haven't really seen a lot of celebrity buy-in. I haven't seen a lot of, athletes or entertainers or rappers, not to say that they aren't coming, but to know that you actually have seasoned professionals who are building this up for you. It's not,
Yes.
it's not just, I'm not going to pick anybody's name out, but it's not just, a mogul here or a mogul there, but these are people who've been inundated in the industry for for many years. I mean, and they have the resumes to prove that this is something that can be viable. It's not,
Yes.
this is not a hustle. This is not,
Right.
right. This is not a hustle. This is not, something that you have to question the integrity of the people who are behind it. From what I've
Yes.
gathered so far, this isn't anything like that. Not to say that celebrities and, that they don't have, that they're not capable of doing this.
Hmm.
However, when I'm looking at financial markets, I would prefer, if I'm going to invest in something like this, I prefer that it be managed, run, head by individuals who actually know what they're doing. Not that they just have this great idea, and they're just putting it out there and see what sticks.
Yes. You have hit it is a you're very intuitive. Thank you for the interview. This is a wonderful thing you're saying right now,
You're
because
welcome.
over the past years, I've actually had numerous offers of people to kind of throw money at the Dream Exchange, and we could have gone faster with more money earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've done, and this has been my job. My job is that the integrity of what I'm building is foremost in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
None of what we've done has been um, without the historical significance of what we're creating foremost in everyone's mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I've said it this way repeatedly, and I believe that we are curing about a 150-year-old problem
Mm-hmm.
that exists in our country, and that the simplicity of it is this. And I joke about this because I'm a Sicilian kid from the west side of Chicago. I grew up in a black neighborhood.
That's all
And
right. We cousins. It's okay. That's all that.
yes,
That's all that
exactly.
really means. But go ahead.
Exactly.
That's it.
And so, but what's interesting about my background and what I bring to the conversation from the creation of this is that the integrity of it. Look, I'm a lawyer and a CPA. There were many other ways to make a lot more money faster, and I think my wife would have probably been happy
Mm-hmm.
if I had done that a couple of times.
Or, taking on questionable clients. There's a number of things that you could have done besides this.
Yes, and what we've really done is respect the fact that what we're doing actually is historically significant for the country, because um, my family came here. My grandfather, my father's father, came here in I think it was 1905 or 1907, and he bought a ticket on a boat, and he was in poverty in Sicily. They were olive farmers and goat farmers, and he was one of seven kids, and he came here and he got with family and friends, and he opened a grocery store,
Mm-hmm.
and he brought all of his brothers and sisters and parents over, and they survived, and I think he had a beautiful life selling lettuce. Okay.
Not glamorous,
and
but he did what he had to do.
but he did what he had to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the people I've become partners with, and the one fellow that we're going to be making some public announcements very soon, um, I think that he and the people surrounding him hold in their hand the true integrity of what the dream that was Martin Luther King's dream
Mm-hmm.
about the way the country would kind of meld together.
Mm-hmm.
And I recognized this right away, which is in he's been my friend for 18 years, and he's my daughter's godfather, and I love him. Okay, so this is a personal conversation in
Mm-hmm.
that um, when he told me his story and his family's story, well, his great grandfather was a slave. Okay, and his family came here on a boat. They just didn't buy a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and when we declared freedom for the nation 150 years ago, it was a horrible joke, because all of the factors that go along with taking full responsibility for our whole country. Our country is a group. And I believe that if you're in a group, your group is as good as you allow its most underserved members to thrive.
Right.
And
I
if
agree.
we fail to create prosperity amongst all members of the group, then none of us are truly free. None of us truly enjoy what the promise of having a free country and the freedom to have a family or choose the way you want to live and choose what's valuable to you. If we don't have that, well, what we have is the really rich people over here and the really poor people here. And the fact is we have to take responsibility for everybody.
Right.
So it's odd to hear someone who's the founder of a stock exchange say, I'm a lot less interested in the money that goes along with this than I am in the program allows for the totality of our community long after I'm gone. I'm hoping that many decades from now, as you put your television on, or who knows what device you'll have 50 years from now to look at, the ticker tape of the stock exchange will be there. It's been there for 230 years. And this is sorry to be on my soapbox about this, but the truth is that in 1900, if you wanted to go to the market, you had to go in a horse and buggy, or if you were lucky enough. Okay, you that's how we transported ourselves. 120 years later, every one of us, even those who are, modest income, you go in a climate controlled car. You could put the heater on in the car in the wintertime and go to the grocery store, no matter who you are. Well, the technological advances in communication and transportation and agriculture and medicine and what we're doing right now, look at this magnificent ability to communicate, and I get to see your beautiful face over the internet. That didn't exist. And it only exists today.
Right.
Because the American capital markets invested in people and things,
invested in technology, invested in
technologies,
ideas.
and all the things I just mentioned. All of those things came through those markets. And guess what else came with it? Vast amounts of wealth for many thousands and thousands of people.
Right.
So all we're trying to do is open a capital market to the broader public, the entrepreneurs who really need a chance. And that's all they're looking for. That's all I hear is, I just need an opportunity. I just need a chance.
Just need that word access. Just need access.
And that's really what we're doing, is putting something there so that people can have the opportunity to put their idea and put their imagination into the public eye in a way that the public then, like you just said, what a great company. I want to invest $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000, and I'm just hoping that they make it. I'm hoping that, and with hopes and dreams and people who believe in themselves and look at the future as a better world, those are the people so when you were talking about what companies we want, that's who we want.
That's who you want.
We want people who believe that what they do every day is going to help make the world a better place, and that if they expand their company, that company is going to contribute something, not only to their employees, not only to their own personal wealth, not only to their investors' wealth, but to the greater good of our society. And if we put a stock exchange there, that's changing the paradigm of how we talk about money. So most people think of business, and there are common phrases of, it's a dog-eat-dog world, and greed is good, and it's a zero-sum game. And seldom do you hear in finance, I want everyone to be prosperous. You seldom hear that. You seldom hear kindness, compassion, love of your fellow man. Those are not expressions that are commonly used in the stock market world or in the business world. It's all about, get your coffee at 5 a.m. and listen to the news.
Right.
Well, we're changing that paradigm in a way that I think is equally suited to the beauty of our whole country. The Black community is a beautiful community. They have beautiful ideas, and they have the competencies of the public that can make this a better country. needs this desperately.
Needs it desperately. Now now when you said the word paradigm, I was like, yes, I got to get in here because this is actually my last question. I mean, Joe, this has been a phenomenal conversation. I have to again truly apologize for not having had to stream it up. It failed. We got it back up. We got that. I definitely will have the replay because I don't want you to miss any of the information or any of the jewels that have been dropped in this interview. But talking about paradigms, and right now we're definitely starting to see a shift, and with that shift, I want to ensure that the Dream Exchange is going to be sustainable. So with that, my question is, I don't want to I don't want to load it too much on the front end because I know you're just rolling it out. But if not in the beginning, will you eventually be able to have investors purchase or trade cryptocurrency or even the availability of fractional shares? Because we're starting to see that shift, and people are creating wealth from cryptocurrency. You have NFL players who are getting portions of their contract in cryptocurrency. We're seeing people who were shy or hesitant about getting into the stock market are now getting these fractional shares, and it's like, okay, every 2 weeks I can get $50 worth of Tesla, or or something like that. Like I said, I don't want to load everything on the front end because Dream Exchange is just starting, but because we're talking about paradigms and we're starting to see how currency is shifting and how people are trading, is that going to be available? Will you be able to make that available?
So what we're doing in what is commonly called blockchain technology. So in the blockchain technology, what we have in kind of, like I said, I have this nice board of all the things we're doing. We're in the construction right now of the software engineering of the exchange. We are not ignoring anything. So in terms of the I guess the commodity of cryptocurrencies, that's not something that is on any stock exchange at all. It's
right.
Okay. So it probably will never be on a stock exchange. If it goes to a marketplace, it'll go to the commodity markets, like the Chicago Mercantile Exchange.
Okay.
In fact, I think they already have a cryptocurrency contract at the CME. What we're doing, however, is it's clear that blockchain technology is a very secure, very safe, very workable technology. And in fact, I think there's been at least one securities offering that had blockchain technology attached to it.
Okay.
So we have at least one person of our team of developers that is now has his project integration, looking at how we would integrate using blockchain technology in conjunction with the exchange.
All right.
and that's that's neither an endorsement nor a criticism of like, why would we do it from the start? The fact is that
I just appreciate the fact that you actually have someone dedicated to investigating it, to studying it, saying, well, is it something that's viable, and watching its growth and the potential for it to impact what it is that you do. That for me says a lot.
Yeah, and it's happening. You're right. The fact is that the world reserve currency is the US dollar. So all other currencies around the world use the US dollar as its kind of center point, denominating, well, what's that worth in dollars?
Right.
Well, what we have with the currencies, the cyber currencies, is they're all using dollars as their reserve currency. What is a Bitcoin worth? Well, it's worth $56,000.
Right.
So that those conversion features and the free use of money in our society is something that's changing. So we're paying careful attention to how that would impact the future of the Dream Exchange, both venture exchange, and we're building a national exchange as well, but we're concentrating on the venture exchange. And the truth is that it's something that the public is demanding, and it certainly has workability in the world of technology. 3 years ago, there was a university that asked me to speak on cryptocurrencies and to provide a little outline of my thoughts on it. And I actually said, I don't want to do that. And I'll tell you why I don't want to do it. Because 3 years ago, my viewpoint was, look, until something major like, Tesla Motors is now willing to exchange coin currency for cars.
Right.
Well, you're no longer looking at the US dollar necessarily. You've got coins and cars. So cars, how many Teslas can you buy with coin currency?
Mm-hmm.
That becomes a way to create the value of the coin currency outside of a dollar. It's a car. What is as that becomes more broadly accepted, there's what is the old saying? Crisis has danger and opportunity. I don't see the cyber currency marketplace in a crisis yet. So as we move forward, we have to look carefully at it. The Securities Exchange Commission has taken a very dim view of certain of the activity, because what they don't want to do is they don't want, and I don't want this either. This is part of, I often don't talk about this because, it's not the highlight of every show, but paramount in my mind is, number one, investor protection. So we're vetting companies because we don't want people on our exchange. We will fail if we have charlatans and people who are fraudsters who are companies. We won't let them on. On the other side of it, there are people who are wealthy and just want to move money around. To a greater degree, we want to prevent any bad behavior by people who would tend to use stocks or private currencies to just enhance their bad behavior. So that is clearly, I love your questions, by the way. It's been wonderful talking to you.
It has. This is probably like one of my longest interviews in a while, but I came into the interview already just excited about what it is that you're doing. And again, like I said, excited about the potential to level the playing field and to right some wrongs that have been done in this country. Not to say that it's your responsibility or your team's responsibility or the Dream Exchange is responsibility to right these wrongs. However, if we are going to continue to wait for these other people who have been capitalizing off of the wrongs to make it right, it's never going to happen.
Right.
So for what it is that you're doing, like I said, I came into this interview like completely excited. I had like a million questions and I was determined I'm gonna get some answers tonight. So so hopefully, those who were able to catch it live, and those who will catch it on the replay, that they'll be satisfied that, again, like I said, you're not hustling people, that this is a valid, viable opportunity to create wealth, to create legacy, to build up businesses, to invest in things that you believe in. I'm just really excited. So that's where, you the passion that you're getting, I hope that you're getting, that's where it really is coming from.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this, and I don't. It's the one thing you just said. It's probably the one thing that I'm going to say that you're going to like that I disagree with.
Okay.
It is my responsibility.
All
it's
right.
it's my responsibility, and if I don't view it as my responsibility, and we all don't begin to take a different viewpoint, that it's your job to make a difference. It's your job, mine, not you, but
I know what you mean.
To those who would turn a deaf ear to what I'm saying, it is my responsibility. If not me, who? If not us, who will do it?
And when?
So, and when? Like I said, I have 6 children ranging in age from 28 to 12.
Wow.
And I have tremendous hopes for their future. Tremendous. And I know I'm a seasoned enough father and papa, that I know that I won't be around to open the umbrella when it's raining someday. And what I'm trying to do right now is put the umbrella in the hands of everyone I meet and leave everyone better off for having been a part of what we create. So it'll be fine, because there'll be enough umbrellas to shelter us from the storm. That's the goal. That's what we're trying to accomplish.
That's the goal. Joe, this has been a phenomenal interview. I'm so grateful that you thought enough of Minority Report featuring Black owned businesses, that you would come and share all of your knowledge, all of your wisdom, all of your insight, and really, promote what it is that the Dream Exchange is hoping to accomplish, plans to accomplish. I foresee that it's going to be done, that it will be accomplished. I'm so, so grateful to you. For everybody who's watching, again, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate you. I will leave information, links, websites, contact information, all of that stuff will be detailed below down in the description box. And I will also be sending out an email blast of a blog post that will summarize this interview. So if you missed anything, or if you're like me, you just like to read, you will have access to that. So please don't forget to sign up for my newsletter so you don't miss an interview, don't miss a product review. Visit minorityreporttvshow.com, and again, sign up for the newsletter so you don't miss this, don't miss the recap, don't miss the blog post. I really don't I don't want anybody to not have access to this information. Even if it's not for you, somebody who's going to want to get their business listed on the Dream Exchange. That's all I have for this interview. I thank you guys. Joe, again, thank you so, so
Oh
much.
yeah, one
We'll
last
definitely
thing.
be in touch, because you know
Yeah,
what? I'm coming to Chicago because I want to ring the bell.
yeah. I want you to. I actually, there you've made a date. You've made a date. You've made a date. You're going to be ringing the bell. And one last thing I wanted to mention, we actually have another webinar next. If you go to our website, we're promoting it there. But those webinars are just so valuable. We get
They
such great
are.
feedback.
They are.
Yeah.
And you're
So
doing webinars like almost every week.
every week we try
Like
to do a
every
new
week
webinar.
you're doing a
Yeah.
webinar. Trust me, I get the emails, I pop on when I can. Sometimes I stay on the whole time. If I can't get on, the whole time, I try to catch it the following week. But again, I want to say probably since about July or so, I jumped on it immediately. I've been getting the information, so it was heavy on my heart. Like, I gotta get Joe. Is he gonna come see me? He done been everywhere
Absolutely.
else. He done been in Black
I'm
Enterprise.
flattered. I'm flattered.
Is
I'm
he gonna
flattered.
is he gonna
And
come
we
and
want to
grace
come
us?
back. I want to come back. I want to come back after these big announcements. I'll bring our team, and you can meet some of the other
That
people.
would
That'd be
be
wonderful.
lovely. Yes, because we want to see who's behind the dream team, who's
Yeah,
back
you
there, who's
definitely that's going to be fun. When we take back the curtain, you're going to love it.
I cannot wait to pull back the
Yeah.
curtain and see, what the magic is going on back there. I'm excited. I am. I truly, truly am. Again, thank you for being a guest on Minority Report, and for everybody watching, I will check you out in the next video. Have a good night, you guys.
Thank you.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, Rohit, where are you? I'm starving. Mm.